What's up, everybody? I'm Gio, and welcome back to Carvalho Creations, where I show you how to make awesome props and projects of your own. Now, in today's video, we're actually going to be revisiting my original Halloween video I did here on the channel and making these tombstones. And because I've been working with props so much for the last few years, I've learned more tips and tricks that I'd like to share with you guys to make these look even better. Now, we're actually going to be doing two different types of tombstones in this video. One in which I use a projector to project an image on the tombstone and then trace and carve that out. But if you don't have a projector at home, don't worry, you can do this freehand, and which one we did here, freehand, and it looks just as good. Now, this is a project you're gonna be able to get done in one weekend. It's super easy, relatively inexpensive, and they come out great. So without any further ado, let's get creating and go wild. What's up, everybody? All right, so today we're gonna be making some tombstones. Now, I wanna go over the material list of what you're gonna need to get this project done. I'm gonna show you two different ways to make the tombstones. One, I'm actually gonna use a projector to project the image on the tombstone so I can get perfect lettering and everything that I can trace and then carve later on. And then we're gonna go ahead and do another tombstone where we do it all freehand. So if you guys don't have a projector at home, you can do this freehand. You can still get a really nice looking tombstone at the end. So to go over the material list, the first thing you're going to need is, of course, I'm using insulation foam. This is just regular styrofoam. You can get the pink stuff, which is better. It's a denser foam, but this is what I have on hand, so I'm going to use it. We're going to cut our tombstones to about 17 inches wide by 32 inches high. You're going to need some scrap wood, and the scrap wood is going to be for the base. That way we can weigh down our tombstones and they're not going to blow around in the wind when you put them outside. So you're going to definitely need that. We're going to need some liquid nails to get everything glued together. I'm going to be using some glue sticks, and this is just like a temporary thing to hold things in place. Also too, this is optional, but I do have this silicone mold where I don't know if you guys can see this. There's some really cool designs in that, and we'll be filling this up with hot glue and then gluing that to the tombstone itself just to give it a little more of an ornate look. You're also going to be needing some kind of rotary tool. A Dremel works fine. You can carve this by hand, but it's going to take a long time. So if you have a rotary tool, I would definitely recommend using that. And wood dowels. And the wood dowels is just to attach the foam to the actual wood base so you have a nice strong structure. And then of course we're going to be using our MONSTERMUD. Now, if you guys want to see a more in-depth tutorial on how I use my MONSTERMUD, how I mix the ratios together to get the right consistency and then also apply it, you can watch my MONSTERMUD witch video, which I'll link the video in the description down below if you want to check that out. And again, we're going to be doing two different types, so there's a lot going on in this, but it's a pretty easy build, a relatively easy build, what the end result is actually going to be. So stick around because we're about to go wild. All right, so today, guys, I wanted to go ahead and just talk to you and walk you through the process. And all I'm doing right now is just laying out the basic measurements. So like I said earlier in the video, we're going 17 inches wide, but about 32 inches high. And I'm just going to lay out basic shapes and marks for my tombstones so they look clean and nice, like they were cut factory. So first off, I'm doing my freehand tombstone. And this one, I'm using 5-gallon bucket lid just to get that normal arc shape. And then I'm going to cut in some edges on the top, and you'll see this later on in the video. And I'm doing this because I want to give more of a style than just a typical arch tombstone that you see. So I'm using an X-Acto knife, razor blade to cut out my shape. And then right here, I'm just marking in the center line of the tombstone so I can add my cross feature. And I thought I wanted to go for something simple for this tombstone, so it wasn't so over the top and real easy for you guys to follow. What's cool about these tombstones is you can do as much detail or as little detail as you want. They still come out really cool. This MONSTERMUD stuff is going to last you a lot of seasons too. If you store it on the off season and only leave it out during your Halloween season, they'll last you some years. I have some that have been sitting up in my garage for about 6-7 years at this point. So I'm using my rotary tool here, and I have the depth set at about 1/4 of an inch. I don't want to go too deep. This styrofoam is only about 1.5 inches thick. So I'm only going about 1/4 of an inch down, just so you can see the relief when it's all done and it looks like it was carved out of stone. So I'm projecting this image now. This is the only shot I have of this, but this image is being projected on the styrofoam itself. The hardest part of this is really lining it up so it's perfectly straight. And you want to tape it down or mark it down so it keeps its shape when you're tracing the design out. And you can not only do tombstones, you can also do signs. I've done signs in the past where you can make them really detailed. So if you have your own Halloween haunt and you want to do your own sign, you can definitely use this method to make a large sign. If you guys want to see me make a Halloween sign later on in the future, please let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to show you how I do that as well. So this is where I'm adding the hot glue to that silicone mold I was talking about earlier. This really gives it a really cool look at the end, and it's super inexpensive. I think I got this on Amazon for like $8, but you can see what it does for the tombstone here at the end as well. Now I'm just gonna hot glue this into place because once we put the monster mud over the top of it, it's gonna look great. And this is where I'm just kind of distressing the tombstone so it looks like it's been sitting for 100 years. And I'm just taking a razor blade and carving away little cracks around the edges and trying to keep it as organic as possible, like it's actually been sitting there and it's been weathered. So right here, I cut these 2x4s at about 18 inches, and I'm using 1/4-inch dowels, and I'm snapping them in half. So when I stab the styrofoam tombstone down, it's an easier pierce and it goes down easier. If they were flat cut straight, it'd be a lot harder. Right here, I'm using liquid nails just to get everything glued up. The liquid nail is gonna take about a day to dry, but once they're dry, it's gonna be perfect and they'll last you forever. Here I'm cutting my 1x6s to about 23 inches in length. I just wanted a little more stability for the tombstones as you sit them on the grass so they don't teeter as much with just a 2x4. And here I'm just going to use a brad nailer to hold it in place, and then I'll go back in and drill with screws. And I'm using 1 5/8 screws to get this all tightened up. This first section in the video, all the way up to this monster mud part, probably took me about 2 hours for these 2 tombstones, so not very much time. I like this method. It gives you, it's pretty inexpensive. You can get 1 sheet and get, you know, up to 8 tombstones out of it, so it's pretty cool. This, I'm using the monster mud and I'm just brushing it on. I'm trying to get into all the cracks and crevices as well. At the end here, I'll use that same brush and dig some of that monster mud out of the lettering that I put in, because it has a tendency to clog up that lettering, and you want to be able to see it at the end. So once you coat everything, go back with that brush and try to take some of that extra monster mud out. Here's the close-up shot. You can see where those cracks really look cool. It looks like stone. That's why I love monster mud and using the styrofoam as well. You can see how that skull and everything, all those little ornate pieces that I glued in, really look nice. And now we're gonna get to the actual detailed paint. So here I'm using, it's not just straight black paint, it's actually a thinned down black paint, like a wash. And I'm washing that into the lettering so it stands out. Once you do the monster mud and you have the gray tone over there, you want to have contrasting colors so you can see the detail that you put in there. So right now, I'm just etching in the lettering, and then I'll do the same to that ornate carving around the actual skull itself. So now I'm trying to show you guys the black wash that I've been using. I'm gonna just take a spray nozzle and stick it right into the cup, and then I'll go ahead and spray over the tombstones themselves. And this is a pretty thin wash because you don't want to clog that nozzle, and you want everything to drip and look like it's been weathered and aged over time. So this is a really cool step, and it creates a lot of character for your tombstones. I'm gonna go back in here with like a rust colored wash in a second and do the same thing, just to give it multiple coats. Now this stuff is gonna dry a lot lighter, so if you're looking for a really dark and tarnished look, you might wanna do a few coats, let it dry completely, see what it looks like, and then add as you need. And then one last step of paint we're gonna be doing is I'm just gonna take some green acrylic paints, a medium tone and a light tone, and I'm just gonna brush it into certain places where I think moss or mold would start to grow. And I don't wanna overdo this step. It's more of like an accenting type of step to where it gives attention to the viewer in just specific spots so it looks nice. And I'm trying to go into places that I think a lot of moisture would build over time and stay. So you'll see in the corners of the cross and also the cracks of the tombstone itself, this is where I'm trying to keep that moss and mildew buildup. I'm using this floral moss here and some Loctite spray adhesive, and that's basically just to add a little more moss, a little more 3D effect and texture to the overall tombstone, to really sell the effect that it's been sitting in a cemetery, in a graveyard for years and years, and to give that age. This is something that's super easy. You guys can do it in one weekend. So I really hope you like this video. If you like me talking to you during the actual video, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll continue to do this for our upcoming videos. But thanks for watching and stay tuned. Bye. See you later. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of our video today. This was a hell of a lot of fun to make. I hope you guys try this project out. It's super simple and it really adds a lot to your Halloween decor. If you have any questions about today's tutorial, feel free to write me down in the comment section below. Make sure to share this video around with your friends because it's super awesome. And if you haven't subscribed by now, I mean, what are you doing? Let's go. Join the family. It's fun over here. We make cool stuff. But until next time, keep building things, stay creative, and don't forget to go wild with it. I'm Gio from Carvalho Creations, and I'll see you next time. Did you like today's tutorial? Oh yeah!